Hi, I'm Clayton Johnson from Squire Wealth Advisors, and with me today I have Cathryne Harrison, one of the founding partners of Hundley Harrison. She's an estate planning attorney, and I worked with her closely, and she does an awesome job. We wanted to talk today about a few elements of estate plans and why they're important, why we need them, and thought no better person to go to than Cathryne, who's been doing this for a while. So thanks for joining me, Cathryne.
No problem. Happy to be here, Clayton.
All right. So I want to start very basic here, Cathryne. What are the basic elements of an estate plan?
Great question. Start right from the ground up. An estate plan is a collection of legal documents where you make your end of life decisions and where you designate your distribution of your assets. And there are four main documents in a family estate plan. The first is a revocable trust. The second is pour over wills for you or you and your spouse if it's a family estate plan. And the third and fourth are a power of attorney for both of you, an advanced healthcare directive for both of you.
Okay. So can you talk to me a little about each of these documents and what they're designed to do? Why these documents?
Yeah, absolutely. The trust is the most important. A trust is a legal entity where you hold all your titled assets, your home, your bank accounts, sometimes even your cars. They should be owned by your trust. Anything that's owned by your trust completely skips probate.
Okay.
And that's trust. For your pour over will, that's your safety net. So we want all of our assets to skip probate, but the pour over will is your safety net that says that anything still that's still owned in your individual name, it pours into your trust. It's also where you outline what you want your guardianship to look like if you have kids. Um, Wills have to be probated, but so thinking about your estate plan, if you have a simple will, it's not the most effective way to do everything, but it does point the direction for all your assets to go.
Okay.
Okay, so those are the first two.
Mhm.
Where a will and a trust really come into play when once you've passed away, the power of attorney and advanced healthcare directive really come into play while you're still alive, but you've become incapacitated for some reason. You may have cancer, or you may have some form of dementia or Alzheimer's, or you may have gotten a car accident and you have a traumatic brain injury, right? So if you're incapacitated, your advanced healthcare directive allows you to name an agent to make your medical decisions for you,
Mhm.
um, since you can't. It's also where you outline your end of life care wishes. Your power of attorney is similar to an advanced healthcare directive. You name an agent to be able to make your legal and financial decisions for you if you become incapacitated. Now, both
Mhm.
those expire when you pass away, but they're very, very, very valuable to have while you're still living so that people can help you with all aspects of your life while you're going through a hard time.
Yeah, that's great. And to that advanced healthcare directive, I think a lot of us think that if we're married, our spouse just automatically can make decisions for us in our health if something were to happen to us, right? And I believe that's a common misconception because you need that advanced healthcare directive, even for a husband and wife relationship. Say a situation arises where something happens to me and my wife needs to make a medical decision for me. That advanced care directive allows for that, correct?
Right, right. It really streamlines the process
Mhm.
because what you have is, maybe worst comes to worst and something happens to you, Clayton, and your wife has to make some big decisions, and oftentimes the living will portion of the advanced healthcare directives where you outline where what you want your end of life care to look like. If you haven't
Sure.
already designated that somehow, then the weight of putting that on a loved one can sometimes be quite overwhelming. So they wouldn't be doing
Mm.
what you want them to do. They're doing what
Mhm.
they would like to do and probably keep you alive in maybe a situation where you wouldn't have wanted to be,
Yeah.
right? And so if you lay it out, then you remove that burden from a loved
Mm.
one. So they can just say, I'm doing what Clayton wanted me to do.
Yeah. Well, that's good perspective. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about a couple of scenarios. Say I'm fairly young. I meet with a lot of people who are young. Maybe they have no kids. Is there still a reason for a person in that situation to worry about getting a will, a trust, kind of the whole estate plan package?
Yeah, absolutely. My short answer is absolutely. Even
Okay.
if you're single, if you have assets of over $100,000, which these
Mhm.
days anybody that owns a house in this area is over a hundred
Yep.
thousand dollars, you're going to be subject to probate if you die,
Mm.
right? In order to
Mhm.
avoid the chaos of probate, the time and expense and delay that probate brings, and a potentially blind distribution to siblings or parents that you may like or dislike, if you
Mhm.
have a trust, you're going to designate where all those assets go. You can skip
Mhm.
probate and you have the efficiency of a distribution that you wanted, right?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. So now let me give you a scenario. Say I'm retired. All my kids are out of the house. Why then should I worry about an estate plan at that point in my life? I mean, you kind of talked about it with the $100,000 limit, but
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that really is highlighted when you think about what probate is, right? And I don't know if we've talked about that yet, but probate is a court administered process where your estate is identified, it's itemized, and then it's distributed. Now, that all sounds nice, but the big problem there is that the court oversees all of it. And if anybody has had experience with court, they know it's slow and it's expensive. So most people don't like probate because one,
Mhm.
it takes a long time. Two,
Mhm.
it's very expensive, much more expensive than an average estate plan is. And
Right.
three, assets become a public record. Now, with some of my older clients really care about that right off the bat when I say public record. They want their privacy. Younger
Mhm.
people don't realize why that's a big deal as much because their their lives are on TikTok or something and they don't really,
Right. Yep.
right? But it becomes a problem because there are predators that will watch probate and they see something filed and then they say, you know what? I'm going to go try to put a lien on that house because you have to list all your assets. And it invites
Mm.
predators, it invites the potential for abuse on an estate. So,
Yeah.
my personal opinion, if we can keep your assets as private as possible, distribute them as efficiently as possible, and avoid as much probate as possible, then you're going to be happy. Your beneficiaries are going to be happy, and everything's going to go much more smoothly for your family.
That's really good, Catherine. For me, I mean, being a financial advisor and I'm looking at the numbers of it, and I'm often weighing the pros and costs and the cost benefit analysis and all that. Really, the cost of probate, you mentioned this, the cost of probate is significantly larger than just going and getting an estate plan drafted and updated every once in a while, right? A fraction of the cost.
A
So
fraction of
you're
absolutely.
if your goal is legacy and you want to leave a legacy for your children and not a burden or a debt or any of that, an estate plan makes so much sense. You pay, you know, whatever you pay. It depends on the complexity, obviously, but it's going to be a fraction of the cost, and it's not that cost prohibitive. In my experience with estate plans, they're
Yeah,
pretty
it's
reasonable.
not. It is a fraction of the cost, and some people care about this quite a lot. There's a lot of it provides quite a peace of mind, right?
Hmm.
As a mom of a bunch of young kids, if I go on a vacation with my husband, my kids aren't with me. Every parent has gone through this, right? You think, okay, what's going to happen with the kids? Which have I signed? Like, before I was an attorney, have I signed something down? Who's going to take the kids? How is everyone
Yep.
going to be okay? If you have
Yep.
an estate plan, that peace of mind is very invaluable, and
Hmm.
and from a financial perspective, it's very affordable for most people. It's
Yep.
surprisingly.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, Catherine, thank you so much for joining me. We're going to include Catherine's contact information in the show notes. I'll have my contact information. So if you're interested in learning more about estate planning or even getting your estate planning done, or you want to know how an estate plan fits into your overall financial plan, either one of us would be happy to consult with anyone. So thanks again, Catherine, for joining me today.